Hey, welcome. So, we've all been there, right? You get this huge burst of motivation, you're gonna save more, spend less, and then a few weeks later, poof, it's gone. Today, we're gonna dig into exactly why that happens, and more importantly, talk about a way better strategy for making real, lasting financial change. All right, let's just jump right in with the big question. Why? Why does that initial fire to get our finances sorted out almost always seem to fade away? It's super frustrating and it happens to so many of us. But here's the thing, it's probably not your fault.
The answer is actually pretty simple. We've just been using the wrong tool for the job this whole time. Trying to change deep-seated habits with just motivation, that's kind of like trying to build a house on a foundation of sand. It's just not going to work. It's totally unstable.
And that shaky foundation leads us right into something called the willpower trap. See, we tend to think of willpower as this, I don't know, this heroic superpower. But the reality is it's a finite resource. It's more like a muscle that gets tired the more you use it. So if your whole plan relies on it, you're pretty much setting yourself up to fail the moment it runs out. So let's break this down. The old way, the one that doesn't work, it's all about vague goals. You tell yourself, I'm going to save more money. Okay, but that relies completely on motivation. How do you even measure progress on that? You can't. It's totally unclear. And for how long? Forever? There's no end in sight. That's not a plan, you know? It's just a wish. And that's exactly why it always falls apart.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's about shifting to a much smarter system. It means we stop trying to force change, and instead, we become the architect of our change. Think about that. You're not just gritting your teeth and trying harder, you're actually building a better structure for your habits to live in.
And the key tool in this new system, it's something called a structured financial challenge. So you take a fuzzy goal, like I want to spend less, and you turn it into something super concrete. For example, for the next 30 days, I will not buy any non-essential items. See the difference there? It's night and day. It's something you can actually do. Now let's be really clear about something. This is not about making yourself miserable. It's not about eating rice and beans for a month just to suffer. The real goal is way more strategic. It's about intentionally, and just for a little while, disrupting those automatic, unconscious money habits, the ones you don't even think about. It's about finally getting a clear look at them. All right, so this all sounds good in theory, right? But how does it actually work in the real world? Let's walk through 3 really powerful examples. These are tried and true ways to create that intentional disruption we were just talking about. First up, you probably heard of this one, the classic no spend challenge. It's simple. For a set time, maybe a week, maybe a whole month, you just stop all spending that isn't absolutely essential. It's like hitting a giant reset button on your habits. And the real magic here, it forces you to see just how much cash was leaking out on stuff you weren't even consciously choosing to buy. Okay, next up is a really brilliant one for building momentum. It's the incremental savings challenge. You start almost ridiculously small. Week 1, you save just $1. Week 2, you save $2, and so on. Look, this isn't about the amount of money. Not at all. It's about building that consistency muscle and proving to yourself week after week that you can do it. That builds some serious confidence over time. And our third example is the tracking challenge. The rule itself could not be simpler, but trust me, the effect is profound. For a certain period of time, you write down every single penny you spend. That coffee in the morning, write it down. That pack of gum, write it down. Everything, absolutely no exceptions.
So why on earth does this work so well? Because it totally short-circuits your financial autopilot. Just knowing you have to write something down creates this little bit of friction in your brain. You're forced to stop for a split second and ask yourself, wait, do I really want this? And just like that, you've turned an unconscious habit into a conscious choice.
And that leads to what the source material calls radical awareness. I love that phrase. It's such a powerful thing to see, right there in black and white, exactly where every dollar is going. And that awareness, that's the first, and honestly, the most important step toward taking back control. All right, so completing a challenge feels amazing, right? You did it. But the real question is, how do you keep from snapping right back to your old habits the day after it ends? This is where we get into the really crucial part, the rules for making the change actually stick.
So, if you want these changes to last, there are 3 keys, and they're pretty much non-negotiable. First, you've got to pair it with reflection.
The numbers you track are totally useless if you don't look at them and learn. And this isn't about beating yourself up. It's about being a detective in your own life. Ask yourself, why did I overspend here? What was the trigger? That's where the real learning is. Second, you have to personalize your challenge. Look, sustainability is so much more important than intensity. The best challenge is the one you'll actually finish, not the hardest one. And finally, you need a plan for integration. The challenge needs a purpose beyond just its end date. Decide before you even start what new permanent habit you're going to build from what you learn. You're basically building a bridge from the challenge to your new everyday life.
Okay, as we start to wrap this up, let's just zoom out one last time. It is so important to remember the true purpose behind doing any of these challenges in the first place. Let me just hammer this point home. We are not doing this to prove how much we can suffer for 30 days. That's not the goal. The goal is to build real, lasting systems for managing our money, systems that keep working for us even on those days when we're tired, stressed out, and have zero motivation left in the tank. And really, if there's just one big idea you take away from all of this, let it be this one. Real, lasting change doesn't happen by just gritting your teeth and forcing it. It happens when you intelligently design a short period of disruption, and then, and this is key, you actually take the time to learn from what you discover about yourself. So I'll leave you with a question to chew on. It doesn't have to be some massive, life-altering thing. It just has to be intentional. What's one small, automatic financial habit, the thing you do without even thinking, that you could intentionally disrupt for just 1 month? Just think about it. The answer to that question could be the start of a whole new you.